Well, Russ just mentioned practice, feedback, and collaboration. I think were three of the four words. And I think what I'll do is simply relate that to the three technologies that I'm going to mention that we've been using in independent study in the Division of Continuing Education, all focused on how do we create meaningful learning for the student. And what I'm going to just simply mention quickly are three technologies from simple to a little more elegant that hopefully are helping students in those ways. And I'll talk about if I can have the slides advance. I'll mention these three ways that we're using technology. And the first is having to do with that keyword practice that Russ mentioned. One of our problems in our math courses, and we have a number of secondary education math courses as well as university, is students need to practice math. There's just lots and lots of repetitive practice with math problems that help them build skills and build automation in the way that they solve problems. But to create all those problems manually is a pretty heavy load. And what we've done is just take advantage of a simple technology that's been there for some time, but to be able to generate practice problems for students. So when we give them a quiz of 10 problems to reinforce a particular math skill, we don't have to write the 10 problems and then another 10 and another 10, but we can let the student go in, and each time they execute the quiz, it presents automatically a new set of variables in a math problem. And so they can literally create hundreds and hundreds of examples of these very similarly structured math problems, whether it be a very simple math equation they need to solve for, whether it be a word problem and we simply manipulate the variables in the word problem, in this case the percentage solution changes, the mixture, whether it's milliliters or ounces. And so these are variables that simply get manipulated every time they execute this quiz. They get a different version. We can adjust the graphs that they see, which point they have to provide the coordinates for, and we don't have to manually create all of these versions. And even sometimes it gets fairly complex in terms of providing the feedback, but providing them a range of values just to simply teach them a simple skill such as the mean for a set of numbers. So this is a way that we provide students the opportunity to interact with content and to practice and develop a skill set without having to manually create hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of versions of these problems. A second technology is learning checkpoints. And it's just basically using a technology for something that's as old as the hills in terms of teaching, which is basically sitting down with the student and giving them feedback about how they're doing in the course, encouraging them, checking on what they're learning, and seeing them then set goals for the future. This last semester, the universities allowed us to pilot some online courses. There are 12 courses that were particularly identified last fall and that are again being repeated this winter. For these 12 courses, we've integrated actual checkpoints. Normally, with the online courses that are provided through independent study, the student has a year to complete the course. It's pretty much self-paced, and it's up to them to decide if they would submit any questions, but they don't have direct access to the professors. In this case, we wanted to actually structure, since it's one semester long, we wanted to structure learning checkpoints where the instructor and the student, or the teaching assistant and the student, actually sit down at the beginning of the class one-on-one, understand an orientation for the class, but also set goals, and then at particular checkpoints throughout the class are looking at the work that they've done, they get feedback, and all of this is done via a video conference. So there's a kind of an outline as to what things they should go over at each checkpoint. And the students, again, it's a one-on-one discussion throughout the semester. This is a new way to use, at least for us, a technology that's been around for several years in terms of video conferencing, but specifically to help bring about interaction between the student and their instructor. What do the students think of this? It was interesting as we've surveyed the students. I mean, they obviously indicated that they learned a lot from the course. They thought there should be more online courses, but we were interested in how many checkpoints students thought they should have. You can see that there's a range of what students would like. There are some students that want no checkpoints at all. They just want to fly through the course, and why interact with the professor? But it's a very small percentage. I was actually quite pleased that there was a large group that said, well, 3 or 4 checkpoints is about right. And this is what 180 students said after they had gone through these 12 courses and experienced the 4 checkpoints to indicate what they felt was best for their learning. So I thought that was an interesting piece of feedback and experience. And so now, as we go forward, we also got lots of feedback as to how they should be structured, what kinds of questions should be asked, and other things relative to the courses. The last technology in terms of interaction has to do with collaboration. Russ mentioned the importance of kind of working with others relative to the subject matter that you're trying to learn. We've just introduced in our language courses, starting with our Chinese course, a Chinese lab. And in this lab, if we look at some keywords here in the advertisement that has gone out, provides extensive opportunities to practice Chinese with fluent speakers. It's a virtual lounge. It's open 20 hours a week. Students can dial in at any time, and we staff it with TAs. We obviously have great resources here on the campus that can speak languages and want to continue their language skills. We staff it with TAs. Students can drop in, ask questions, chat with the students, other students, more advanced students, university students, and practice their language. Now, there's 2 ways that this lab is being used. There are actual assignments in the course where they have to pass off speaking assignments with each lesson that build throughout the course. And then the lab is open just generically if somebody doesn't have an assignment but wants to just work on their Chinese. They dial into the lab and they can get assigned a TA and they can talk to a TA, or they can set schedules as to when things are available, what appointments they might want to have with particular teaching assistants. So every one of the lessons has a speaking appointment. There's a scheduler. They go in and make an appointment, and then when they're in the lab, again, it's a video conference, and there can be multiple students that all dial at the same time, and there are breakout rooms that they can go to work on particular skills. So one TA may take 3 or 4 students and go work on this particular lesson skill set. Another breakout room may be for more advanced interactions. So this is going to be a very interesting way that we try to use, again, a technology that's been here for some time, video conferencing, but specifically for how students should learn language and how that interaction with other students that are learning that language, as well as teaching assistants that are more advanced, they can provide them feedback. And those are the 3 technologies. Speaking appointments, when they do have speaking assignments, there's a specific rubric so that they know, well, this is how I'm going to be judged and be graded as I go through these particular assignments. But those 3 technologies hopefully bring about deeper and more meaningful learning as we help students engage better with their subject matter, help them engage with their instructors, and help them engage with other students. Thank you.